Dude, did you take my Cheetos? They were sitting right here.
No.
Brother, your fingers, they're orange.
Bonus action hide.
Ted, I can see you hiding behind your chair right there.
Guess I failed that stealth check.
Welcome to Nerdarchy. I'm Nerdarchist Dave, and today I'm hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchist Ted. Today we're talking about rogues in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, and which is the best race to play a rogue.
Do you want practical content you can drop right into your D&D game?
If the answer is yes, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button and to tune to that notification bell so you don't miss a single video.
Alright, if we're going to pick the best race to play a rogue in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, one of the first things we're going to have to do is to define what are the attributes that make a good rogue.
In the game, Dex is going to be your most important stat. So typically with these things, we always got to look at which races are going to get a bonus to Dex.
And then I think from there, it's like, are you playing the mostly Dex-based rogue? Are you playing the Dex intelligence rogue? Are you playing the Dex charisma rogue? Because all of these have their place, for rogue builds. The other thing is, the rogue is your skill monkey. It's your expert character class. So even though, you think rogue and you're kind of like, okay, well, that's like a thief or someone who's doing stealing and nefarious ends. But there are so many different ways you can actually build a rogue type character.
It's called expert for a reason. You've got the ability to, really stretch that out to however you want to interpret it. I guess we will start off with Dex, even though lots of other things that are important.
Yeah, so, we always break these things down mechanically as to what is the prime stat. Then from there we go to, well, what features does that race have that's going to lend itself to the character class? And then finally we look at theme.
Theme, which races naturally are going to lead themselves to a life of the rogue, however you want to call it. And, we got some interesting things to talk about. So for starters, we have 19 races out of all the different books that get a bonus to Dex.
There's definitely a lot of them. Before we jump into that, though, I think, anytime you're talking about the rogue character class and them being experts, one of the things they're really experts at?
Traps.
Finding traps, removing traps. So as a DM, if you got rogues in your game, you're going to want to have a lot of traps to throw at them. Well, thankfully, our sponsor, Nord Games, has a Kickstarter going on right now where you're going to be able to assemble traps from whole cloth or just plop them right in your game. They've got a book that's coming out that they're kickstarting, 10 chapters all about traps.
So Treacherous Traps for 5th edition comes with 50, in blocks of 50, 250 pre-built, ready to go traps set up specifically by level. They've got it broken down nice and easy. There's a chapter that talks about, where you should place your traps, why you should place your traps, why you should be using traps in the first place. There's a lot of useful information. And if that's not enough, there's a whole chapter dedicated to this random trigger and this random effect. So you can roll and put them together for a whopping 2,500 additional, trap features that you can be able to throw into your dungeon. You're never going to be short of a trap again.
But wait, there's more! Also, Nord Games, they always put together these awesome decks of cards. So you're going to be able to have this in book form as well as in card form. So if you just want to pull cards out randomly and place them in your game, or maybe your players went in a direction you weren't expecting, so and you wanted to spice it up and you just didn't want to use a monster, well, here's some traps you can throw at them. Just pull them right from the deck of cards.
Go check out the Kickstarter, and we haven't even touched on what stretch goal possibilities there might wind up being. Go check out the Kickstarter. Support Nerdarchy by supporting our sponsors.
So with that, we said there is a bunch of race options for our rogue. 19. It's basically on par almost with the fighter, which had a ton of options as well.
Absolutely. And we always got to throw out our little
disclaimer.
Race disclaimer of, hey, if it's got a floating bonus like your human, half-elf, Warforged Envoy, and now the Simic Hybrid, it's going to be good at anything because it's got that mechanical plus wherever it needs.
Yeah, you build it as needed. So yeah, all those would obviously make good rogues. So going into the player's handbook, there's 5 races that would make excellent rogues based off of their stat adjustments.
You mentioned 5. You're going to get your elf, you're going to get your half elf, you're going to get your human, you're going to get your halfling, and you're going to get the forest gnome.
Yes, with elves and halflings too, it's all the sub races, so they all kind of work. Brings us to elemental evil player's companion. We got 2 choices in there.
We got the Aarakocra, and if you go specifically into Genasi, Gensai, however you want to pronounce it, the air subtype totally works.
I would go Genasi because it's Gen. Moving on to the Sword Coast Adventures, again we get another 2.
So this one we have the Feral Tiefling and your Deep Gnome, your Surf Niblin.
Surf Niblin, it's just fun to say. Mordekainen's Dome of Foes is going to offer up 1 choice, but there's 2 subclasses, so maybe 2 choices. Again, we have Tieflings, it's going to be Dissipator and Glacia. I'm not sure if I'm saying those right.
So if we jump over to Eberron, we got another 4 choices in the Wayfinder's Guide. You've got the Kalishtar, you've got the Changeling, you've got the Shifter, all of them, let's face it. And then, of course, the Warforged is going to give us the Envoy and the Scout.
Yeah, so you have tons of options if you're playing Eberron and you want that boost of dexterity. Next is Volo's Guide to Monsters, and we get a whopping 5 choices.
This one, I mean, come on, we're talking about monsters, and there's a whole bunch of monsters that, tend to lead that roguely lifestyle. So you've got your kobold, you've got your kenku, you've got your goblin.
There's also Bugbear and Tabaxi as well.
Those bonuses are, totally going to stack in the dex direction.
Now, here's a place where I was kind of surprised because it felt like, as we were doing things, the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica kept coming up. But for Rogue, there's actually only one choice in there that's kind of optimal.
And that's going to be your Simic Hybrid, and it doesn't even get a standard dex. It just has that floating.
Yeah, I'm just good at everything. Next, we're moving into our features.
All right, so moving into features, we pulled through reading all these different things that, the race gets mechanically. Forget what stat bonuses there are. What kind of abilities are they getting racially? And we came up with a list of 11 that wind up, adding to what a rogue does.
Yeah, this one, there's plenty of choices. I mean, there's 2 of them we almost forgot, and that's the Furbolg and the Duogar, both of which have access to invisibility. So, yeah, I would think that's going to make you a pretty good rogue.
Invisibility, really powerful ability. So, yeah, don't want to forget those.
Then we have the Changeling that can literally change their appearance. They can hide in plain sight as somebody else.
I mean, that's incredible. If you're, there's a bunch of different options or play styles for your rogue where just being someone else is just, more useful than any other ability that other races are going to get.
Tabaxi, they get skills, they have the right stats, and then also they're natural climbers. They have a climb speed, so that makes them natural second story people, as well as, come on, Cat Burglar.
Yeah, kobolds, these guys, have the idea of, just being awesome at traps, but, their grovel, cower, and beg, kind of gives a whole rogue aspect to me.
Well, not only that, pack tactics as well. So they're going to be really good at using that sneak attack.
Absolutely.
So next up we have Kenku. Kenku have their voice mimicry. They have their expert forgers. So they have certain racial abilities that's going to lend them to being a certain type of rogue.
Bugbears, while they might be meaty, they start off with proficiency in stealth. So they're already down the right path to begin with.
They also have a natural sneak attack ability, which would stack with sneak attack. So they're already trying to sucker punch people, so why not?
We already mentioned, human in our disclaimer. They get skills, they get feats. You can customize this however you see fit.
Again, the half-elf also gets extra skills, so if you're building the expert, the skill monkey, yeah, this kind of plays in.
The Warforged Envoy winds up having that built-in tool with expertise. Come on, man. You're never going to lose your Thieves' Tools again.
Bonus skill, bonus tool, bonus language, and like you said, integrated tool is an awesome ability that is going to give them advantage. So they can have their lockpicks and thieves tools built right in.
Absolutely. So then the last one, we have the Lightfoot Halfling.
So the Lightfoot Halfling has the ability to hide behind anyone that is bigger than them, and they can also move through squares of creatures that are bigger than them as well. So this kind of lends to the thief where you can literally be vanishing right during the battle.
And, in our games, we've seen it happen, time and time again. So
Absolutely. So next we want to jump into our themes.
all right, so this is where forget whatever you get mechanically. This is just conceptually from the race. Do they lead towards that, that criminal element? Do they lead towards, that thieving, that deceiving, the things that rogues kind of are already leaning towards?
Nefarious pursuit. So in
There
this
you
case,
go.
we are kind of pigeonholing the rogue into this bad guy role, even though you could build them a lot of different ways. But I think the iconic rogue is a newer,
pickpocket.
yeah, or the newer duel. So, so with that, we got halfling, kobold, goblin, changeling, and kenku.
All right, and we don't need to go into all of the different reasons why these things are on that list. You already know out there what each of these races are and what they're about. So
Yeah, and we know the halfling, kobold, and goblins, they all get a bad rap anyway for being thieves. Changeling, they can literally change their face. So thematically, even if you aren't a rogue, people are going to think you are anyway. And then, Kenku kind of fall into that niche of like, I see them being kind of like an urban blight and beggars. But at the same time, usually you have to watch those beggars sometimes as well.
when they can literally steal your voice. We also have the Warforged for the Scout. They're built specifically for doing those kind of things, especially if you go into the third edition lore where they were literally designed for the scouts for the armies. So they were already doing the roguey thing to begin with.
Well, not only that too, the Warforged, in general, were designed for specific purposes, and even in some of the novels, there were like ninja-like Warforged. So spy, infiltration, scouting, all of those could fall into their bag. It's just a matter of how they were designed. So I think thematically that works as well.
Absolutely. So that brings it down to we're gonna have to pick our top 3 rogues.
This was tough too because rogues are like fighters where pretty much all societies have them. And they exist everywhere. So we had to really narrow down what it is that we think we're going to make, these particular races the best rogue using theme and features and their stat adjustment.
So there were a couple of things that we had talked about because they get this ability and this winds up working out. I know Dave was pitching for Goblin, but when we looked at Goblin's bonus actions, their features, it actually kind of overlapped with cunning action. It's like that's actually taking them off the list.
It's a detriment. Yeah.
So it's like, but. Our third place, we're going to go with Changeling. The complete ability to be someone else. They've adapted a persona and have lived a life as it. Therefore, could easily return to it at any point in time and be gathering intel, doing all of the stuff, and at night being somebody else and going all kinds of, steely on somebody else, and totally puts us in the top 3.
Yeah, changelings are just to make the ultimate spies and infiltrators, for sure. Now, number 2, we went with another Eberron race, Warforged, specifically the Envoy. The fact that they get those extra skill language and tool, the abilities you get just for being a Warforged are also good, but that integrated tool, you're just designed to do these specific tasks. You're designed to be an expert on top of being an expert by being a rogue. So we really felt the Warforged Envoy makes an awesome rogue.
Yeah, doubling down on those expertises, makes the rogue stand out, and there's very little that has the ability to top that ability.
Our top pick, our final one. Okay, guys, gals, we might be a little bit biased on this one, But we're fans of Lord of the Rings, we're fans of The Hobbit, we're fans of the mythology and the lore, and we're fans of the small folk. Yeah, halfling. We had to go halfling on this one because it is like the first race that was ever designed to be like, yeah, these are your rogues, these are your thieves, these are your master burglars.
It is iconic, and Tolkien did it first, and D&D has kind of just followed in those footsteps. Maybe mechanically it's not going to be as superior as the other two, but when you ask any person who's been gaming for a long time, you ask, what's the best to play a rogue? They're gonna just say halfling. It's ingrained. It's built and beat into our heads over decades of playing this awesome game.
Not to mention, you do, if you're playing in Kryn Dragonlance, have the Kender subclass of halfling, which are complete kleptomaniacs.
Absolutely.
So those are our picks. Jump down to the comments below where you can add your picks. What do you think? What did we get right? What did we get wrong? We've got a place for it. While you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
And if you like what we're doing over here, don't forget to check out our Patreon account. All the content that we're doing here on our videos winds up being turned and twisted around and created awesome products that you can get. Not only are you going to get it cheaper, but you're going to get it first. We'll put it up on the website, but by getting the Patreon, you're going to get to be able to be in Patreon only hangouts. You're going to be able to hang out with us on Discord. You're going to be able to play test the material that we're creating. Lots of great stuff happening over there. Go check it out.
On your way down to the description where you'll find that Patreon link. Also, check out this Kickstarter from Nord Games. It's going to be awesome. I think you guys are going to love it. I can't wait for it. So until next time, stay nerdy.